Oh, good evening, folks, and welcome back to the farm. Boy, she's a beauty of an evening here, actually. Still a little bit smoky. You can see everything's kind of gray out there, but it's nice temperature out right now. I'm sure if it wasn't so smoky outside, it'd probably be about 3,000 degrees. But we get a little bit of shade. We actually did have, I wouldn't say a splash, but a slight dribble of rain that came through here earlier. Right when I was coming home, there was just some mist on the window. The automatic windshield wiper cycled once, and then that was it. But it was enough to say that there was something wet in the air. But anyway, we all know that's not going to be enough to do anything, but it is, it gives us that little bit of hope anyways for something more. But I just had to bring the garbage to the bin there because, well, fire bans and all, nobody's burning garbage. Well, somebody might be burning garbage if they're an idiot, but anyways, so the bin's getting full here. I might have to phone. I think they'll be up this part of the world on Friday. I'll get another week out of that, and then I'll give them a call. I don't want to call them early. As you can see, we got the side-by-side out with the water trailer. I'm actually looking for, my wife has one of these long-stemmed tree watering devices. It's got a little valve on it and a sight glass window. I think you can put like little pucks in it, fertilizer pucks or something like that. And it's for a deep root watering system. I'm certain we put it away in the fall. I'm certain of that. But I'm just not certain where we put it away in the fall. So I'm gonna have a look in the shop here and hopefully we can find it, because I looked in the greenhouse. I looked in the tack shed. The tack shed was kind of a tack shed, tool shed, garden shed. But nevertheless, it's not neither one of those. And I would say with about 99% certainty that it's not in the shop here either, but I gotta give it a quick lap around, just, kind of look off into the obscure little corners, places like that, to see if a guy can see it. But I just have no idea where we would have put it. So the wife's got me just gonna go move garden hoses around here this evening, and she's just got on a little trickle. So I don't know. I'd have another look. That's not a cheap piece of equipment. I mean, it's not $1,000 by any means, but it's certainly not something that you just wanna lose. Hey, Millie, how are you doing? Oh, look, here comes Elsie, all full of piss and vinegar too. You gonna give us a hee-haw? No, you're just gonna leave me hanging like that? Well, all right then. Hey, Elsie? No hee-haws? Okay, well, you enjoy your evening. Oh boy, if you look behind me there, man. Well, if you just catch it without the sun, look at how brown that sky is. Man, oh man, isn't that something? I had quite the wildfire situation here. Most everything has been calm today. It was a little cooler this morning. Like I said, the humidity was a little bit higher. And it's like a calm before the storm. It makes me a little bit nervous because, like I said, without that cloud cover, it would be 1,000 degrees out here. And I think, Thursday, Friday, we're going to see that weather turn around. It's going to be about 28, 29 degrees again here. And we might be right back at square one. So we put some water in the garden. We're putting some water on some trees. And trying to get some stuff a little bit greener around here, just so we don't have to have everything so goddamn tinder dry. It's funny, I said I was certain that we put it away, the tree watering thing, but I wasn't certain where we put it away. Oh, back up to like 2 years ago, my wife got a little mouse crazy during COVID on one of the auctions at the Ritchie Brothers. And she bought these 3 crates of just absolute garbage. This one is full of like cut off chunks of lumber. You could use this or whatever if you need a block for a trailer or something like that. But I wouldn't pay good money for that. This one here underneath the pallet is full of these Victaulic fittings for pumping large volumes of water, and all the gaskets are all toast in it. And then this one here is full of, water valves and stuff. Same thing. They're all shot, eh? Anyways, look down here in the bottom corner. What do we see? A real fancy watering device for the trees. That's what I'm looking for right there. So I'll get the garden hose plumbed into that. And we can water these trees like we mean to. I'm all plumbed in here now with this thing. You can see when I turn it on. That puts all that down at the roots of the trees, right where it needs it most. So we'll just leave it on a little trickle just like that. And we'll just put that down in there. And it can sit there for 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And then we'll just move it to the next one and the next one and the next one. One thing I do need to figure out here is how the guy I got this trailer from, when he built this thing, I'm gonna figure out how he connected these walls to the frame of the trailer. I don't know if he screwed it in from the bottom. Just what? I see some bolts through, a lot of screws. So I'll probably just go ahead, find those screw holes from above and see if I can just pluck this whole box right off of there. And then I'm gonna put a little water tank on there. That'll be way more useful than that thing. Although I shouldn't say that. That thing was very useful in the early years for moving chickens, mobile chickens, and we even moved 2, 3, 4 sheep at a time in that thing. We moved lambs. You could fit like 10 lambs in there. So it did have its, very varying purposes. But now, with the stock trailer, it's hard to justify bringing that other rickety old mess out. So we have ourselves a little bit of a problem in that, okay, so everything warmed up, but we have no moisture. Whatever subsoil moisture we had got all soaked up into this, turned it green. Got a little bit of chlorophyll action happening through some photosynthesis, but not a lot of growth. So what I got to do, basically, because that paddock in behind there, I think it's about 15 acres in behind the barn, isn't going to sustain all those sheep. So I'm still feeding hay. I'm feeding 2 bales one day, 3 bales the next day. And that even isn't enough, because that hay that they're eating is so dry. It's dry. I mean, it could just turn to dust. If they didn't have any saliva in their mouth, I'm sure it would just be like eating sawdust. So anyways, I'm going to supplement with grain and molasses. We've had a couple weeks off of grain and molasses, but just looking, like I said, the condition of the pasture, I'm going to have to supplement a little bit here. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of hay and I won't have any grass. And so 1 bucket of molasses, 1 bucket of grain. How do I do this? Well, I could mix them together 50-50. What I've actually been finding works quite well is if I just take one of those rubber totes and I put a 5-gallon bucket of grain right in the rubber tote, and then put about 4 gallons of molasses on top of it. It all soaks in and they just kind of work their way through it slowly. And everybody's triple happy teddy bears. I was going to use the side-by-side, but yeah, it looks like that's kind of occupied. I got garden hoses, totes, chainsaws, a random bent board, and the water trailer. So God give me 2 arms. I'm just going to have to use both of them. So just looking at the molasses tank here, I got about 380 liters left out of the 1,000 liters that I had when I first got this thing from Blooms. So that's gonna, if I'm mixing grain and molasses here, that's gonna carry me through the other 30 days here till we kick everybody out to pasture. Now, I say out to pasture. I mean, I know they're in behind the barn, they're on pasture, but that's bush league. That's just amateur hour. We got another big field they can live in down by the dugout. We got the dugout pasture, and we have the little pie-shaped piece, and then we got the big pie-shaped piece, all fenced off for them, and they'll just rotate through that over the course of the summer. And when they're down there, we're actually going to bring the rams up, and the rams can live up here in the farmyard somewhere. Not sure yet. We got an Olympic high jumper for a ram, so we'll figure out where we're going to put him. But anyways, this grain and molasses mix is what's going to get us through this next little bit. I do have one hay bale left, one round bale, that I think this weekend I'm going to put a hay net on and put out there. Now, I'm not a big fan of the hay net for sheep because they, a 2-inch square, they can get their hooves in there. So it's going to require daily monitoring. That's not by any means a set it and forget it thing. If you leave that out there for multiple days, you better check it every single day, if not twice a day, to make sure nobody's tangled up in that net. And when they start to get down to about under half, maybe a half to a third of a bale, and that bale starts to collapse, you're probably better off to undo that hay net and just go pull it off and let them clean up the rest in 2 days, or spread out the rest in 2 days. But certainly that first half of the bale, we don't want them just going to town and just destroying the thing in 2 days, because they could turn a 1,500 pound round bale into a fresh green carpet in your field just like that if they really wanted to. And I have a feeling that right now, the way they got that hunger for green shoots, they could just destroy a round bale right out of spite, I'm sure. So the other thing I do with that molasses, aside from just mix it off with a bit of grain, is I'll pour, if I got a third of a bucket or something left, I'll pour that last little bit on the hay. There's a mosquito out there. Pour that last little bit out on the hay, and then they're not so apt to throw so much away. They generally clean up a lot more because it all tastes good. Well, I'm almost all done chores here. Actually, speaking of chores, it's got me thinking, the little John Deere Gator. This is an absolute godsend, this thing. I got this for a smoking deal. A guy I work with, it belonged to him and his kids, and well, yeah, I don't think he ever drove it, of course, but anyways, his kids kind of outgrew it, and he said, well, the kids were going to sell it and spend the money on, some other toy that was more relevant to them. So I said, how much do you want for it? He says, $50. And I just reached in my wallet right there, and I said, sold. And he's like, okay, I'll bring it to work tomorrow. And he did. And like, you can't find one of those on the buy and sell for less than $200, it seems. Anyways, we ran it all last year, and then of course winter does what winter does to batteries. Even though it was parked inside the shop and the batteries were unplugged and they were set up on a shelf, and anyways, they all died and I couldn't get them to recharge. So I ran down to Battery World in Grand Prairie, and actually first I went on Amazon. I could find just a core of the battery, not the case, because they come in a case with these special adapter harnesses and everything, but I could find the battery itself on Amazon for $57, and it was going to take a week to ship. And I thought, interesting. Well, we have a battery store in Grand Prairie, so I ran down to Battery World there, and funnily enough, they said, yeah, $57, but I don't have to pay any shipping. It was going to take a week to deliver, so right at the same time, right? So pretty important to support local. Why would I support Amazon if I can get it locally for the same price? And anyways, they're like, yeah, if you want it, like, you got to put your name on one. They're in high demand because, of course, early spring, high temperatures, everybody's digging these things out of their garage and looking for batteries. So I put my name on a battery. They called me up. I went down and got it, and the thing is back in action. I tell you, there is no better tool for getting your kids interested in doing chores. You throw a bucket of grain in the back of that thing and say, drive over to the barn. Those kids are going to have the time of their life, let me tell you. And so, absolute godsend for keeping kids relatively busy outside, so they're not just walking from the house to the barn to the grain shed, to the house to the barn to the grain shed, kind of thing, all day, and getting bored and tired and all that. Put them in a little buggy like that with a bucket of grain or a couple rocks, or like right now we got a rake and a shovel and maybe a little hoe or something from the garden. Buzz around, Put the other little one in there, tarp strap them in, have at her, have a time, right? And boy, I tell you, that's a far better babysitter than a television or an iPad ever will be. Anyways, just got the dogs all fed up there. One's in there. And it looks like it's getting on to be close to 9 o'clock. I generally turn into a pumpkin right around 9 o'clock because I got to get up at 5. And so if I want to get 8 hours of beauty sleep, and Lord knows I need it, I better fetch up a cup of tea and get crawled into bed. So I'll let you go for now. I hope you have a fantastic evening. We'll see you tomorrow.